Hello again. Hello and welcome to part 3 of the prediction game. Today's book is Lovely War by Julie Berry, a historical fiction with a major romance subplot. I knew of this book through booktubers who spoke highly of it. The main consensus is that it's a tear-jerking roller coaster, which is daunting, but better than boring to death. In any case, we shall see. It's 1917 and World War I is at its zenith when Hazel and James first catch sight of each other at a London party. She's the shy and talented pianist. He's a newly minted soldier with dreams of becoming an architect. When they fall in love, it's immediate and deep, and cut short when James is shipped off to the killing fields. Aubrey Edwards is also headed toward the trenches. A gifted musician who's played Carnegie Hall. He's a member of the 15th New York Infantry, an all-African-American regiment being sent to Europe to help end the war there. Love is the last thing on their mind, but that's before he meets Colette Fournier, a Belgian chanteuse who's already survived unspeakable tragedy at the hands of the Germans. 30 years after these four lovers' fates collide, the Greek goddess Aphrodite tells their stories to her husband and her lover in a Luke's Manhattan hotel room at the height of World War II. She seeks to answer the age-old question, why are love and war eternally drawn to one another? But her quest for a conclusion that will satisfy her jealous husband uncovers a multi-threaded tale of prejudice, trauma, and music, and reveals that war is no match for the power of love. War and love. Love and war. Two concepts as opposite as day and night. Some might even liken their rivalry to good versus evil. Yet, isn't it true that love shines brightest in times of adversity? When pain is at its peak and spirits are broken, love becomes a balm for wounds and the last flicker of hope. And what greater adversity is there than war? Hazel and James, Aubrey and Colette. Four pure souls caught in the atrocities of the First Great War. Yet, they were among the lucky few to experience true love. James, a young Englishman, is shipped to the front line in France shortly after meeting Hazel, the lovely pianist who steals his heart at first sight. Their love is new and raw and awkward, yet full of potential. But now, it faces the ultimate test, distance, and the raging war that could snatch James away at any moment. Even so, they choose to play the cards they have been dealt. Back home in England, Hazel joins the workforce. Like many women of her time, with the men off to war, factories rely on women to keep the wheels of industry turning. Hazel splits her time between work, her piano, and the letters from James. Each letter becomes her lifeline, deepening her attachment to the man who has captured her heart. Across the English Channel, James discovered what it truly means to live on the edge. In war, death is no longer a distant concept. It's a daily reality. War strips life of all its illusions and pretenses, reducing it to its most primal form, a fight to survive. In the trenches, amidst unparalleled tension, camaraderie blooms among soldiers who share the same grim fate. That's how James meets Aubrey, an African-American soldier sent to Europe as part of the U.S. reinforcements. Despite the dire circumstances, the two bond over shared experiences of war and of love. Aubrey has also fallen for someone special, Colette, a beautiful Belgian nurse with the voice of an angel. Like James, Aubrey's heart belongs to the woman who brought light into his life. As the war rages on, letters become scarce, battles grow fiercer, and the daily horrors of war begin to weigh on the spirits of those who endure it. Ares seems to be winning, But Aphrodite refuses to surrender her young lovers to despair. The love in their hearts still burns, a flame she keeps alive against all odds. Decades later, Aphrodite sits in a quiet room with her husband, Hephaestus, and her lover Ares. She recounts the events of the Great War from the perspective of Hazel, James, Aubrey, and Colette. Her goal is to prove that love is not a frivolous sentiment, it is not a fleeting notion for the overly romantic. Love, she insists, is a force of sacrifice, resilience, strength, and vulnerability. As her story nears its tragic end, even the untouchable Ares is moved. Hephaestus, long aggrieved by the unfaithfulness of the wife he adores, sees Aphrodite in a new light. No longer just the goddess of beauty, she reveals herself as a woman deeply in love with love itself. Hephaestus begins to wonder, was her infidelity an unforgivable betrayal or a cry for the love he failed to give her? In Lovely War, Julie Berry spins a tale where love and war are as intertwined as roots and soil, one nourishing and binding, the other uprooting and tearing apart. The story begins under the gilded gaze of the Greek gods, with Aphrodite narrating two parallel love stories to a jury of immortals, as she stands trial before her husband, Hephaestus, and her lover Ares. It is within this divine courtroom that the fragility and resilience of human love are laid bare. Hazel Windicott, a gifted pianist, meets James Aldrich, an aspiring architect, in the vibrant chaos of a London dance hall. Their connection is immediate, their affection tender and young. Yet, the Great War casts its shadow upon them, as James is called to serve in France. Their budding love, sustained by letters and promises, is tested by distance and the horrors of the battlefield. Hazel, unwilling to merely wait, throws herself into the war effort, using her music to bring solace to soldiers. But war does not leave its participants unscathed. James, scarred in body and spirit, must grapple with his worthiness of love. Aubrey Edwards, an African-American soldier and jazz musician, arrives in France as part of the Harlem Hellfighters. In the haze of war, he meets Colette Fournier, a Belgian singer and nurse who carries the wounds of loss. Their love, an illicit bloom in the fertile soil of adversity, faces its own trials. Not only the dangers of war, but the prejudices of a world unwilling to accept their union. A violent act threatens to shatter their bond. Yet their love endures, defying the odds. As the war grinds on, love becomes both a balm and a torment for these couples. Hazel and James confront the gulf of trauma that separates them, with Hazel determined to show James that her love is unwavering. Aubrey and Colette, bound by grief and hope, navigate the brutal realities of their world, discovering that love is as much about holding on as it is about letting go. Through it all, Aphrodite's tale underscores a profound truth. Love is inseparable from vulnerability. Unlike the gods, humans love with the knowledge that their days are numbered, that every moment shared is fleeting. War, with its relentless capacity to destroy, magnifies this impermanence, making love a sanctuary and a rebellion against despair. In the end, even the gods are changed by the story. Aphrodite and Hephaestus, long estranged, find reconciliation in a newfound understanding. Despite their immortality, they too possess the secret ingredient to love, vulnerability, for love is not a fortress but a fragile flame, burning brighter for the knowledge that it may one day be extinguished. My prediction of Lovely War was both completely off-mark and accurate. Let me tell you how. If we compare the parallel storylines of the two couples, namely Hazel and James and Colette and Aubrey, how they met, the girls' occupations during the war, how the couples came to know each other, and how their stories ended, then I failed miserably at predicting all of those aspects. I actually expected the book to end tragically, with one or more of the main characters meeting their end. Considering the war is a major instigator to the events in the book, I assume death is unescapable, especially if the author chooses to follow a more realistic, cynical approach. She rather chose to inspire hope, which is even better. Well then, if I got all those details wrong, then where is this accuracy I spoke about? It's in the message the book aims to convey, which is, in short, in a war between love and war, love wins. That doesn't mean that all is well or that life becomes magically painless once one falls in love. Pain persists. In many cases, it grows tenfold. The difference is that all suffering is worth it when you care about someone other than yourself in that deep, consuming way.
Because I'm worried. Worried about me?
I rated Lovely War 4.5 stars out of 5. Now that speaks clearly enough of how much I enjoyed this book. One thing about me is that I gravitate immensely toward deeply emotional tales. I want my books to make me feel things, the deeper the better. Lovely War delivered, and with flying colors. Julie Berry has a way with words that transports you into the character's world and puts you right in their shoes. Her writing is lyrical, but not overly so. I loved it. Including Greek mythology, which fascinates me, was the twists on World War stories I really enjoyed, especially that the gods were the ones recounting the events instead of being passive characters. They also happen to not completely despise nor demean humans. For a change, the gods, namely Aphrodite, Apollo, and my darling Hades, have nothing but compassion for humans. That's the video for today. See you in the next one. Take care.